Welcome to StellaKMary channel, your escape to a BL world that makes your heart flutter. Before the story begins, remember to like the video and subscribe for more stories that are waiting for you. Now, let's get started.
Chapter 1. Definitely Not a Thief. The Lancaster Shopping Mall had fallen into near-complete darkness since it was after business hours. Its vast halls were silent and still, save for the tiny nightlights left on in each storefront and the faint twinkle of Christmas decorations on the ground floor. But on the fourth floor, one place stood out, a warm, steady light shining from a boutique that refused to sleep. Its light was brighter than all the rest. Not only was it the brightest, but it was also the loudest. And it began with Micah's, my beta friend, nervous breathing, followed by the steady thud of my own heartbeat. "Merry Christmas to me," I muttered, smiling from ear to ear as I admired my reflection in the mirror. I looked at the outfit I was wearing, a soft white velvet suit, embroidered with delicate, icy blue snowflakes, a silk shirt that shimmered gently, like moonlight on freshly fallen snow, and a silver chain and pearl brooch resting at the collar. The design was so refined that it was almost unreal. Adding the finishing touch were light silver loafers that caught the light as I turned, sparkling subtly as I studied my reflection in the mirror. This Winter Wonderland Snow Angel costume is so pretty. I couldn't wipe the smile off my face. "Don't you think so, Micah?" My smile widened as I spun around gently, the suit sparkling under the lights. I looked like I was transforming into a prince in winter white, straight out of a fairy tale. "I swear, Micah, one day I'll design a costume even more beautiful than this. Mark my words." Behind me, Micah, my beta friend and a sales associate at the boutique, looked pale, fidgeting as if he might faint at any second. And honestly, I couldn't blame him. I had insisted he sneak me in and let me try on this extravagant costume behind his boss's back, which explained why we were here. Because there was no way I could afford this outfit. At least not in my current situation. "Oh, come on, Micah. Don't be so nervous. No one's here, okay?" I said, trying to calm his nerves. "The only security guard on duty just happens to be your boyfriend, and he's the one who let us in." I reassured him despite the uneasy feelings in my chest. I couldn't help but feel I was being watched this whole time. I scanned our surroundings several times, but all I saw was an empty, dark mall. Not a single soul in sight. And yet, that presence lingered, an aura so powerful and overwhelming brushed against my senses. It was invisible yet undeniable that it sent a shiver down my spine. I brushed this feeling aside, convincing myself that it was nothing more than guilt playing tricks on me. But then again, I didn't do anything wrong, did I? After all, it wasn't like I was trying to steal this outfit. I simply wanted to try it on. It just arrived late this evening, fresh from the famous designer I had always admired. Micah had sent me a photo since he knew how much I loved fashion. Just one glimpse of that photo had stirred something inside me. This custom-made piece pulled me in as if the fabric itself had reached out, whispering my name. I told myself it was ridiculous. Impossible, even. A suit like that wasn't meant for someone like me. And yet, here I was. "Yeah, right," Micah muttered, chewing on his nails. Okay. He nodded to himself, clearly trying to calm down. "Anyway, Eclair, are you done now? You said you just wanted to try it on, right? Now that you've worn it, you've got what you wanted. Take it off before it gets dirty." Okay, just 5 more minutes," I pleaded. "I need to study it a little more for reference." I turned back to the mirror, examining every detail of the outfit. I'm manifesting my future success. Micah pinched the bridge of his nose and let out a long sigh. You always say that right before something insane happens. And don't forget, you still need to go to college and graduate before your dream of becoming a fashion designer comes true. Hey, I'm saving up, I shot back. I should have enough to enroll next year. Micah paused, then gave a slight nod. That's actually good to hear. I mean, you survived on nothing but bread and ramen, he said softly. You worked insane hours, picked up every shift you could. For an Omega, you're incredibly persistent and strong-willed. Honestly, it puts a beta like me to shame. I smiled faintly and said, when there's something you truly want, you'll do anything to get it, Micah. Becoming a fashion designer is my dream, and I won't let anything stop me from chasing it. The memory came uninvited before my mind could push it away. Chapter 2. The hidden presence was here. I really admired you, Eclair, said Micah. You have your own goal, and you work hard toward it. Because all I have is myself, Micah. If I don't fight for me, then who will? My parents refused to pay for my tuition, even though they had enough money. To them, I'm just meant to marry an alpha and produce heirs. My fingers curled at my side as echoes of their words flashed through my mind. The memory I tried so hard not to think about. So I have to prove them wrong. I need to show them that an Omega is also a human being. An Omega is meant to be more than a body used for breeding. Micah looked at me for a long moment before smiling gently. That's exactly what I admire about you, he said quietly. I mean, who would have thought that the youngest master of the Hartwell family is working part-time jobs and living in a rundown single-room apartment, all for the sake of his dream? That's the past, Micah. I stopped being a Hartwell the moment my parents tried to marry me off to an alpha old enough to be my grandfather to complete their business deal. I closed my eyes, clenching my fist until it hurt. But the pain was nothing compared to the memories of them announcing my marriage, treating me like a piece of property to be traded. When I ran away, I changed my name. I'm not a Hartwell anymore. When I opened my eyes, uncurling my fist and taking a deep sigh, I said in a resolute voice, I'm Eclair Fairchild now. I put on a small, confident smile and glanced at Micah, already knowing what would make him roll his eyes next. The future world's most famous fashion designer. And he did roll his eyes. Ah, there you go with the world-famous talk again. I wish you all the best, Mr. Eclair Fairchild, said Micah. Would you mind getting me a pen and paper? I need to note down some details about this outfit, I said, giving him the puppy eyes that I knew he couldn't resist. All right. He turned and disappeared into the back room reserved for employees. When Micah vanished into the employee-only room, I turned back to the mirror and stared at the outfit. Soft white velvet, delicate icy blue snowflakes, the gentle shimmer of the silk shirt, and the silver loafers that caught the light just right. It was perfect. If only this outfit could be mine, I muttered, running my fingers over the fabric. I can make it yours, a deep voice echoed behind me, and I froze, like a deer caught in headlights. That's when I noticed it, the pheromones of an alpha, strong and commanding, curling around me like a physical presence. It wasn't just a scent, it was power, confidence, and dominance all at once. His scent, mix of cedar and warm cinnamon with a hint of raw musk, was so intoxicating and impossible to ignore. My heart lurched in my chest, and an unfamiliar pull stirred within me. My Omega instincts awoke from their slumber, screaming at me to kneel and to bare my neck in submission. I had never experienced anything like this before, even though I had met with many alphas before. I turned around slowly toward the source of the voice. That was when my eyes landed on a tall man dressed in a black designer suit that could easily cover my entire year's rent. His hair was slicked back with a slight lift at the front, sharp and flawless, radiating both control and authority. He stood with his feet slightly apart, hands resting casually in his pockets, his entire aura screaming dominance and hot. Chapter 3. Caught in the Velvet Ropes. Mr. Sebastian Lancaster. Micah's panicked gasp cut through the room as he emerged from the employee room. The pen and paper slipped from his fingers and clattered to the floor as he dropped to his knees, bowing his head in complete submission. Sebastian Lancaster, the owner of the city's largest shopping mall, along with a vast empire of businesses generating billions. The wealthiest alpha in the city, untouchable and influential. A man whose name alone commanded respect. My heart pounded against my chest so loud that I feared he might hear it, though I wasn't sure if my heart was being this way because I got caught sneaking around his mall, or from the way his dark, piercing gaze roamed over me, as if he were undressing me with his eyes. We kept staring at each other in silence, as if the world revolved around just the two of us, until Micah's trembling voice snapped me out of my thoughts. "Please, sir. I'm sorry. Please don't fire me. This won't happen again." Micah, I thought, guilt wrapping itself around me. This was all my fault. If I hadn't asked him to sneak me in, all of this wouldn't have happened. I couldn't let my friends suffer for it. My feet moved on their own accord as I walked toward Micah and stood next to him. My poor friend was still kneeling, with his head bowed and his body trembling with cold sweat. The sight made my chest ache with guilt. Please. This is not his fault. I was the one who asked him to let me in. If you need to punish someone, punish me. Not him, I said, my eyes locked on Sebastian. Sebastian's eyebrow arched in the slightest quirk, and I caught the faint trace of amusement in his eyes. Then his gaze sharpened, so intense I felt the urge to look away. Are you willing to do anything to help him? Yes. I held my gaze, even as my omega instincts screamed for me to avert my eyes. I'll do anything. A smirk curved at the corner of Sebastian's lips, barely there, but I saw it. He stepped closer until the tips of our shoes nearly touched. He was so tall I had to crane my neck to meet his eyes. His scent, cedar and warm cinnamon with a hint of raw musk, grew more intoxicating with each step. My body ached to be in his embrace, to inhale that commanding, addictive scent. But I fought it with every ounce of willpower I had. Then be my partner for tomorrow's Christmas Gala, he said, his voice low and velvety, leaving no room for hesitation. Chapter 4. The Contracted Partner and the Gala. Towering crystal chandeliers hung from the high, white ceiling of the grand ballroom, casting a warm, golden glow over the polished marble floors. The floors were so spotless that I could see my own reflection looking back at me. Every inch in this room screamed luxury and money. Tables draped in deep emerald velvet, adorned with gilded candelabras. Bouquets of white roses and crimson poinsettias with their petals dusted with sparkling frost were arranged in flower holders at the base of each ornate, twinkling fairy lights pillar. In the center of the room stood a big Christmas tree, decorated with silver, red, and gold ornaments, delicate glass baubles, and ribbons that cascaded like silk waterfalls, giving an extra charm to the room. The air was filled with the murmur of conversation, accompanied by a purl of laughter and the soft clink of delicate glasses. CEOs, politicians, and heirs of wealthy business owners, men in impeccably tailored festive suits and elaborate holiday-themed attire, women in elegant Christmas costumes inspired by winter royalty, angels, and classic seasonal legends. The entire room exudes an aura of wealth and power. "You look very lovely tonight, my dear," said Sebastian in his deep, seducing voice that ignited a spark within me. Plus, the warmth radiating from his hand that was resting at the small of my back sent shivers down my spine. I was right to believe this suit was made exclusively for you. His gaze lingered on the same Winter Wonderland snow angel costume I had tried on at the boutique, only this time, my hair was styled perfectly and my face had a touch of makeup. "You really took my breath away." "Listen, stupid heart," I scolded my heart when it began to race. "This is part of the agreement. The contract states that I am to be his partner for tonight. So, every word, every gentle touch, every look was just for show. Don't you dare mistake it for something real." My mind flashed back to last night, the moment Sebastian caught me trying on this very expensive costume. To save Micah from being fired, I agreed to his condition, to accompany him to this costume Christmas gala. As the host of the gala, he said that it would be inappropriate for him to arrive alone when everyone else was bringing a plus one. He had been searching for a suitable partner when, boom, he stumbled upon me, standing there in the tailored costume he had reserved for a rental partner for the night. Thus, a contract was made. And honestly, it was worth it. First, I was paid well enough to make up for the shift I missed today. Well, triple the pay to be precise. Second, Micah kept his job. And third, the agreement involved nothing sexual. I was only required to accompany him for the evening and play the role of a devoted partner. Smiles, gentle touches, a little public affection. It was nothing I couldn't handle. And a bonus was that I got to keep the costume. I saw no point in denying it. Plus, the contract was valid only for tonight. And that was how I ended up here, standing beside the wealthiest man in the city. Sebastian was dressed in a midnight navy tuxedo adorned with silver frost embroidery along the lapels, the structured shoulders, and sharp lines sculpting his imposing frame. A crisp white silk shirt peeked beneath, paired with black leather gloves and silver cufflinks shaped like ice shards. His polished black shoes gleamed under the lights. He embodied the Ice Prince aesthetic perfectly, a striking contrast to my snow angel. Standing next to him felt like a queen standing beside a king, which didn't make sense given that we were both men. So yeah, together we were like a ruler and his equal. "Let's get this over with." I cleared my throat and put up a strong face, trying not to let his presence intimidate me. I wasn't intimidated by the wealth soaking into every corner of the room or by the grandeur of the gala itself. I'd been to events like this before, well, not on this scale, but close enough. My family might come from a smaller city, but there we were considered among the richest. So, attending galas had been a regular occurrence back then. They paraded me through glittering halls, eager to display me to powerful alphas. That was how the old alpha noticed me. That was why I ran away to this city. "You don't look intimidated," Sebastian said in a soft voice, his hands still resting possessively at my lower back. "Why should I be?" I replied, looking at him with defiance in my eyes. "No one here looks more intimidating than you." I paused, then added softly, "And I wasn't afraid of you. Now that's my omega. Feisty." "I like it," he said with an amused smile. Did he say like? And wait, did I just think about wiping his smile away with my lips? Definitely not, right? "I'm not yours," I said, but it was more like a reminder to myself that he wasn't mine. He raised his eyebrow as if questioning my words. And that was when I remembered. "The contract." "Well," I muttered, averting my gaze, "I'm only yours for tonight." He chuckled and leaned in, his warm breath brushing my ear. Glad you remember, darling. But it won't be limited to only tonight if you want to. Come on. Let's go. You're the host. You can't keep your guests waiting. I cleared my throat, trying not to think about what he had said just now. He nodded, a faint smile lingering as he offered me his arm, and I linked mine with his. We made our way through the sea of guests toward the raised central dais at the front of the grand ballroom, where a crystal podium stood beneath cascading lights. The music softened as we passed. The murmur of conversation faded into silence as every head turned, eyes drawn inevitably toward us. Good evening, Sebastian said, his voice calm and steady, yet radiating power across the ballroom. Thank you all for joining me tonight. He paused, waiting for a ripple of applause to die down before continuing. Tonight, we gather not just to celebrate the season of Christmas, but the spirit it represents, warmth in the cold and the light in the dark. So tonight, let's set aside business, ambition, and rivalry for one night. Let's all enjoy the music, the company, and the magic of this evening. He slipped his hand behind my waist, drawing me closer until our shoulders brushed. Welcome to the Lancaster Christmas Gala. Another round of applause echoed through the room as we stepped down from the dais. Sebastian's hand never left my waist, steady and protective as he guided me down the steps carefully. When I reached the last step of the stairs, an alpha with the same jawline, but less refined than Sebastian's, approached us. He tried to ooze an intimidating aura, but he lacked the commanding presence that Sebastian carried so effortlessly. The moment that alpha stopped in front of us, I felt the subtle tension in Sebastian's posture. Chapter 5. From Paper to Protector. Hey, cousin, said the alpha, a forced grin contorting his face, making him appear constipated. I see that you've brought company. His gaze flicked back to me, eyes narrowing with a cold, unmistakable dissatisfaction, as though my very presence offended him. Cousin? No wonder there is a striking resemblance. But Sebastian is way more handsome than you. Thought to myself. Derek's, Sebastian said curtly, his voice stripped of all warmth. This is Eclair Fairchild. His hand firm at my waist, and the grip tightening with possessiveness as he introduced me. My partner. Partner. Derek's brows arched, disbelief edged with mockery. Are you certain he isn't rented for the occasion? You know, just to meet the board of directors requirement and keep your CEO position secure. Before Sebastian could reply, I spoke up, sorry to disappoint you, but I wasn't rented. I was chosen. I placed my hand lightly on Sebastian's chest, stepping closer so that there was no space left between us. You see, I was chosen by his heart. I smiled at Sebastian, to which he smiled back. Then I shifted my gaze back to Derek's. But let's say that if I were rented as you'd stated, I let the words hang, letting my eyes rake over him from head to toe. Then you still wouldn't be able to afford me. Of course, it isn't about the money. But because, I tilted my head, smirking. I have very good taste. Derek's eyes flared with anger, a golden flash igniting in them, pure alpha intensity. How dare you? Sebastian cleared his throat, stepping forward to shield me from the angry alpha pheromones. I caught a glimpse of his eyes flashing gold, radiating an alpha dominance to counter Derek's. Don't you dare think about laying a hand on my partner, Derek. His voice was low, controlled, but every word dripped with warning. I've let your snide remarks slide many times because you're family. But if you hurt him, he paused, the weight of his glare crushing. Then our blood tie means nothing. Derek looked flustered. It was clear how he had never seen this side of Sebastian. As a fellow alpha, he was faltering under Sebastian's dominance. But for me, as an omega, I felt a quiet sense of safety instead. "Let's get some air, darling," Sebastian said, gently guiding me away from Derek. "It's far too stuffy here." I followed his lead, but not before casting Derek a deadly glare, a subtle smirk tugging at my lips as I noticed he was still rattled by Sebastian. We moved toward the balcony, where the music softened to a distant hum and the crisp night air carried a refreshing chill. There was no one else around, just the two of us. "So that's why you need a partner for this gala. Your CEO position is at risk," I said, gazing down at the shadowed expanse of his garden from the balcony. The mansion was so vast that I couldn't even make out its entrance from where we stood. Most of the boards are from my father's generation, so they are very traditional. They insist that an alpha leader must have an omega by his side, something about balancing dominance and stability. But I know better. They just want to secure an heir. I don't know why they care more about my baby than my own parents do. But with some help from my parents and a fair bit of arguing on my part, we finally settled down to a requirement that I must find a partner before this gala. "So that is why you hire me," I said. "Part of it," he smiled. I wanted to ask him why he had really hired me. What was the other reason? But before I could speak, he asked, "Would you like a drink?" Now that I thought about it, my throat did feel dry. "Okay," I replied. "Wait here." He strode back into the ballroom. I watched until the crowd swallowed his view from my eyes. My heart was hammering in a rhythm I couldn't control. I kept telling myself this was all just part of the act, a contract. But his words just now made my heart waver. Part of it? His tone, the way he said it, hinted that he needed me for more than just a requirement from the boards of directors. Was I imagining things? Or was I reading far too much into it? "Eclair?" A soft, familiar voice echoed from my back, making my entire body freeze. "It can't be. You made it this far. That's awesome." Curious to know who the familiar voice belongs to? Before the revelation, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much. Chapter 6, The Shadow of My Past. No. It can't be. I panicked, daring not to turn around. "Sorry, you mistook me for someone else." I tried to walk away but failed. "Eclair Hartwell, stop right there." My feet froze, rooted to the spot by the sheer force of his commanding alpha voice. I tried to fight the pull of my omega instincts, but biology wasn't something sheer willpower alone could overcome. My hands curled into fists at my sides, and hot tears pricked my eyes. Years had passed, but he still used his alpha's voice on me. I wondered if they had ever seen me as a child at all, or if I had always been just the worthless omega in a family full of alphas. "So this is where you've ended up," my father said. I could hear his footsteps coming closer until he came to a stop before me. "You've always acted almighty, refusing to fulfill the role of an omega to the point that you run away from home. For what? So you could offer yourself to a richer alpha in this big city." Years had etched wrinkles into his face, and streaks of gray had claimed his hair, but the contempt in his eyes remained unchanged. He looked at me like I wasn't a human, like I was worth less than trash. "Do you know how much we suffer because of you? When you ran away, Alpha Vance was so mad that he demanded compensation," my father said through gritted teeth. "It wasn't my fault," I said, my voice breaking despite my effort to hold it steady. A single tear trickled down my face, defying my order not to cry in front of them. You were the one who agreed to that marriage without even telling me. You were so eager to sell me off to an alpha old enough to be my grandfather. It was for your own good, said my father. My own good. I laughed bitterly, the sound jagged and painful to my own ears. If you were thinking about me, you should have helped me with my tuition. You clearly had the money, but you forbade me from going to college? You only raised me so you could sell me like a property to get back every coin you spent on me. My chest ached as the words spilled out. Did you ever see me as your child at all? But you never did. I was just a mistake. Eclair, how dare you speak to your father like that? My mother snapped, stepping forward to stand close to my father. They always had each other's backs like that when they confronted me. I turned to her, my hands trembling. Mother, I could almost understand father, with his alpha pride and obsession with legacy. My voice cracked. But you carried me for 9 months. You gave birth to me. How could you not have even a bit of maternal love for me? I did love you, my mother said coldly. That's why we raised you instead of leaving you at an orphanage. Now it's time for you to repay us. Be a filial child for once, Eclair. Come back with us and apologize to Alpha Vance. If we're lucky, he might still want you. Then our business partnership can resume. My vision blurred completely now as more tears pricked my eyes. My parents' faces dissolved into indistinct shapes. They had never changed. Their selfishness, their contempt for my very existence. I had known it long ago, yet years of separation had made me foolishly hope they might have reflected on their actions. But hearing them now, I realized just how wrong I had been. No, I said, my voice steady despite the tears blurring my vision. I couldn't see my parents' expressions, but I didn't need to. I could smell the anger pheromones coming from them. I'm no longer a Hartwell. I am Eclair Fairchild. I have nothing to do with you anymore. Leave me alone. Fairchild, my father scoffed. I don't know where you pick up such a ridiculous last name, but know this. Changing your last name doesn't change the Hartwell blood coursing through your veins. You were born a Hartwell, and you'll die a Hartwell. You're bound to a family duty. Even if you refuse, I'll drag you back to Alpha Vance myself. From my blurry vision, I sensed his hand reaching for me. But before it could touch me, a deep, commanding voice cut through the air, sharp enough to make his arm freeze. Don't you dare touch my Omega. Chapter 7. Beyond the terms, into forever. Don't you dare touch my Omega. I blinked, letting tears spill so my vision became clear. At the far end of the balcony, Sebastian stood, holding 2 glasses of champagne, his posture radiating controlled power. His eyes were full of rage, not at me but at the 2 people standing before me, my parents. Sebastian, I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper, audible only to myself. Just saying his name made my chest feel lighter and my heart warm. I didn't know why, but his presence reminded me that I wasn't alone. Seeing him standing there made me feel safe. Mr. Lancaster, my father said, his voice formal, sensing the shift of power in the air. I understand that this is your gala, and this is your mansion. But this is a family matter, so I would appreciate it if you could give us some privacy. Sebastian set the champagne glasses on the balcony railing and stepped closer to me. His hand rested firmly on my waist, a quiet but undeniable claim in front of my parents. It is exactly a family matter that I must step in. Sebastian's voice was calm but full of authority. Eclair is my Omega. He is my family, hence, he is under my protection. And I just witnessed you try to take him somewhere against his will. That is something I cannot allow. Eclair is my son, said my mother. We have. Are you? Sebastian cut my mother off as he turned to ask me, are you a member of the Hartwell family? His eyes told me that he knew, but he was giving me a chance to cut off this bad blood once and for all. And who was I to deny this chance? No. I have no relation to the Hartwell family. I am Eclair Fairchild now, I said with my head held high. Hear that, Mr. and Mrs. Hartwell? My partner just made it clear, he has no ties to you anymore. He is Eclair Fairchild now, who soon will be Eclair Lancaster, Sebastian declared. My heart swelled and twisted all at once, pride, warmth, and a dizzying rush of belonging flooding me. I will have my legal team send you the documents to formally sever the family tie between you and my partner, Sebastian said coldly. Also, you are no longer welcome in this city. If you ever attempt to contact Eclair again, I will make sure you will also have no place to stand in your hometown. His gaze hardened, sharp and absolute. Securities. 5 men in black suits appeared on the balcony, each moving with military precision. It was as though Sebastian's voice alone had conjured them from thin air. Sir, said the tallest guy, who appeared to be the leader of the group. Escort Mr. and Mrs. Lancaster out of the city, said Sebastian. Make sure they will not be seen entering the city again. Yes, sir. My parents protested, but I could barely register their words. My eyes and attention were solely focused on Sebastian. Once everyone was gone, along with the noise, silence returned to the balcony, and I felt my energy drained from my body. I let my body fall onto his, leaning my head against his broad shoulder, seeking warmth and safety from him. For the first time in years, I finally felt at ease. Thank you, I murmured, letting these 2 words convey my gratitude to him. His hand slid up to my shoulder, drawing me closer. He wrapped me in a protective embrace, as if shielding me from the chill of the night. Anything for you, he murmured, his voice warm and unwavering. Chapter 8. The Ride Home. The gala ended with no more incidents. Despite my protest, he insisted on accompanying me home. And now, we sat in the back seat of his sleek black limousine that screamed luxury. I rested my head against the cool window, eyes half closed as the city lights blurred past. When we drove past the park, something caught my eye. Can we stop here for a moment? I asked softly, my voice barely above the hum of the engine. He didn't ask questions and just told his driver to stop the car. The black vehicle rolled to a slow stop beside the glowing park, its paths lined with shimmering lights. A towering Christmas tree stands at the center, glittering with ornaments and ribbons. Can I have your time for 10 minutes? I asked, looking between him and the park. You can have it as long as you want, he said, holding out his hand for me to take. We stepped out of the car and walked side by side into the quiet park, our footsteps slowing until we came to a stop before the towering Christmas tree. Its lights shimmered against the snow, casting a soft glow over everything around us. Beautiful, isn't it? I murmured, my gaze lingering on the ornaments and glowing ribbons woven through the branches. Yes, truly beautiful, he replied. I turned toward him and realized he hadn't been looking at the tree at all. His eyes were on me, steady and warm, as if the world behind me no longer mattered. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I needed to make sure. I needed to confirm this. You know our contract ended 10 minutes ago, I said. Yes, he said. So you no longer have to act, I said, watching his expression. Besides, no one is here. I've never acted Eclair. He turned around to face me. What do you mean? Our contract. It was just the beginning, a way to get you close, he said, his voice low and steady. The first time I saw you in this outfit, I knew right away you were the one for me. I had the tailor and designer craft it for no one in mind, but then you claimed it as if it were made for you. In that moment, I realized where my heart truly belonged. I know it's vast, but what I feel for you isn't just attraction. I didn't know any other way to have you by my side, except through that contract. So, you have feelings for me? I asked, feeling my heart swell with joy, knowing I wasn't the only one with this indescribable feeling. Yes. He stepped closer, his cedar and cinnamon scent enveloping me. With a deliberately slow speed, his hand lifted and let it hover near my face, as if testing to see if I would pull away. When I didn't, he finally rested it on my face, cupping my cheek. I like you, Eclair, he whispered in a low voice, but loud enough for me to hear. The moment I saw you, I felt something click. I like how brave you are. I like how you stood up to save your friend. I also love how fierce you were with Derek. I'm sick of hollow connections and fake kindness that came with my status. I wanted someone genuine by my side, someone who challenges and surprises me. Seeing you in that boutique made me realize what I have been missing, a real connection. The requirement from the board of directors might have prompted me to start the search, but my heart chose you long before any contract was signed. I've always been told to be the strong one. I was born and raised to hold power. But for the first time, it felt so good to have someone to protect me. It was comforting to have someone willing to protect me just because of who I am, not because they wanted something from me. I know this is all too fast, so if you don't feel the same, I do. I cut him off, placing my hand on top of his, the one that was cupping my cheek. I felt the same way about you. He smiled like he already knew my answer. I bet he felt it too, but he just wanted to hear me say it. And so, I gave him what he wanted. Thank you for finding your way into my life when I needed you most. Sebastian leaned down slowly, giving me enough time to pull away and a chance to say no. But I didn't. I didn't move a single inch. I stood, rooted to the ground, my eyes focused on him. I watched as he closed the distance between our faces inch by inch to the point that I could count his eyelashes and felt the warmth of his breath ghosting over my cheekbones. His eyes stayed locked on mine, watching closely, ready to stop the instant I showed even the slightest hint of hesitation. And when I didn't, he finally claimed my lips. We both closed our eyes at the same time our lips brushed against each other, the world falling away in that single, perfect moment. The kiss was gentle at first, soft and careful like I was made of glass. Snow began to fall, cold specks brushing against my lashes and skin. As if to warm us both, he deepened the kiss, a subtle edge of possessiveness woven into it, making my heart flutter with a quiet, aching pride, like a promise spoken without words. His hand slid from my cheek to my waist, pulling me closer until there was no space left between us. My hands traveled up his chest before locking around the back of his neck, pulling him in as I returned the kiss with the same desperation my heart had been screaming all along. For the first time in a long while, I felt wanted. For the first time, I wasn't treated like property or a waste of space. I was loved. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, we rested our foreheads together. White clouds of breath bloomed between us in the cold night air, mingling and fading as one. After tonight, he said quietly, you'll never have to face the world alone anymore. Let me support you. Let me help you reach your dreams. I'll take care of college for you, so chase your dream. You deserve to fly, Eclair, and I want to be the one who helps you spread your wings. How do you know? I tried to think back if I'd ever told him about my dream of becoming a fashion designer, but I couldn't recall. I heard your conversation with Micah. I've been watching you. I only waited until you were alone to approach you, he said with a smile. You're one cunning alpha. Cunning enough to know exactly how to steal your heart. I smiled, warmth blooming in my chest despite the chill of the winter night. I thought of the way he had saved me from my parents, and a fierce determination sparked within me. I was willing to do the same for him. He protected me from my parents, so I would protect him from Derek or anyone else who dared to bring him harm. Then remember this. After tonight, you won't need to carry the burden by yourself anymore. I'll always stay by your side. We'll face whatever life throws at us together. We shared a kiss again, sealing our promises. Under the falling snow, beside a glowing Christmas tree, the contract ended, but something far more real began. Epilogue. 7 years later. I stood under the blazing stage lights, smiling and bowing my head as the applause echoed around the room. Behind me, rows of models stood tall in my designs, fabrics flowing like winter dreams brought to life. I felt overwhelmed, yes, but in the best way, as all eyes were on me. This was my world now. The dream I once dreamt of. My eyes scanned the crowd in the audience, searching for the two most important people in my life. And there, I spot them. My eyes first landed on a small figure with dark hair dressed in a navy blue suit, before shifting to the towering figure behind him, a tall man with the same dark hair and deep black eyes. Both were clad in custom-made suits I had designed just for them. The father and son duo made their way onto the stage, their footsteps steady and proud. I had to bite back a laugh at the sight of the bouquet of white lilies, far too large for a 5-year-old's small arms. My heart swelled, pounding so hard I felt it in my throat, as I looked at my entire world walking toward me. Congratulations on your debut show, Papa, Dominic said proudly, lifting the flowers toward me with both hands. I smiled softly as I knelt down to his level and kissed his cheek after taking the flower from him. Thank you, my little sweetie. Papa, you are amazing. Everyone clapped so loud, but Dada clapped the loudest. Really? Yes. Really? Dominic nodded and, puffing out his chest, clearly determined to prove he wasn't exaggerating. All right, I said, then looking up at the towering figure behind my son. Sebastian stood right behind Dominic. His piercing eyes projected warmth, pride, love, and devotion all at once. You were extraordinary, so of course, you deserved the loudest clap, he said as he stepped closer. I rose to my feet just as he reached me, his hand deliberately slid over the bond mark, his mark, on my neck before settling around my shoulders in a subtle, familiar embrace. If we had been alone, I knew his nose would have been there instead of his hand. He loved inhaling my scent at the spot where his mark proudly rested, a constant reminder that I was his for eternity. He loved showing his possessive side, and I loved being the one he claimed, loved the way he made me feel like I was the center of his world, a constant, undeniable part of him. But since we were in public, I knew he restrained himself because I could see it clearly in his eyes. Those dark piercing eyes darkened for a brief moment when he looked at me, showing a flicker of desire burning through them. That almost made the omega inside me knelt and bare my neck in submission. I had to fight every instinct not to give in to it. However, something told me that I wouldn't get any sleep tonight. Congratulations, darling. Your hard work really shone tonight. Watching you make your dream come true was incredible. He whispered in my ear. It's all thanks to you, I smiled. Don't thank me, dear, he said softly. I only opened the door for you. This, he paused, his gaze sweeping across the showroom before returning to me, is the result of your hard work. You earn it with your own effort. 7 Christmases already, and you're still good with your sweet words, I murmured, warmth flooding my chest as his love wrapped around me like a familiar, comforting embrace. I know I say this all the time, but let me say it again. Thank you, Eclair, for being in my life and blessing it with our beautiful son, he said, his eyes softening as they landed on Dominic, who gazed up at us with wide, innocent eyes. Thank you, too, for giving me this family, I replied, my voice warm, squeezing his hand gently. My other free hand instinctively moved to the mark on my neck as my eyes fell to our 5-year-old son, the actions happening in perfect unison. We weren't just bound by the mark, we were bound by love, by family, by everything that tied us together. Just then, a photographer stepped forward, calling out, Mr. Lancaster, how about a family photo? Hooray! Photo time! Dominic's eyes lit up as he fixed his suit and stood between us. And so we posed together, a perfect snapshot of love, pride, and the life we had built. Once, I was an omega sneaking into a boutique with nothing but a big dream. Now, I stood here as a designer and a father filled with love and supported by the alpha who never let go, 7 Christmases shared, and a lifetime yet to come. The end. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Claire and Sebastian's journey, a love story that began with a Christmas mistake and blossomed into a beautiful miracle. What did you think of their story? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed their love journey, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. See you in the next one.